In this video we're going to be looking at the grip. One of the most important elements in playing pool is how we hold the cue. If our aim is correct, then as long as we can deliver the cue in a straight line, we should make the pot. So it's vitally important that the hand holding the cue is delivering it as smoothly as possible. So the first one we're going to look at is whereabouts we're holding on the cue. Now this is different for everyone. It depends how long your cue is, and it depends how long your arms are, how tall you are. So the way to work it out is with the tip touching the ball, when we're down in position, that back arm from wrist to elbow there should be vertical. So at the point we're making contact with the ball. So if I just move across here to the side of the ball so we can cue through it, when I'm down at the contact point with the white, the back arm is straight down. And that gives us plenty of pull back and follow through on the ball. And then we're making contact at about that halfway point when the arm is nice and straight. If we hold the cue too far back, so if I hold it at the end there for me, you can see I'm already at that point where I'm touching the ball, I'm already right back, so I haven't got a lot of drawback. I can only go a few inches, and too much follow through and miles through the ball there. Obviously the opposite, if I hold it too far forward, then I can pull the cue back, okay, but I'm hitting the ball there and I've got no follow through. So it needs to be at that vertical point, and that gives us equal amount of drawback and follow through. Now, the grip itself. Now the most important thing I want to get across in this video is the lightness and the looseness of this grip. What too many people do is they hold the cue too tightly, they grip it. Now there's two reasons that this is bad, and the first one is just purely mechanics. If I hold that cue tight, that basically locks off this pivot in my wrist. I can only pull my wrist back a certain amount. So if I get down here and I'm holding that cue as tight as possible, I can't pull the cue back. I can't bend that wrist back and keep the cue level on the table. If I come across to the side here, you can see, if I move the bridge hand away, to pull that arm back, I can't bend that wrist, so the cue is going down, which obviously doesn't work. I can't pull that cue back up. The only way I can pull that back up is to loosen that and let the cue pivot in my hand. So we need to have that loose grip to allow the cue to pivot in the wrist, because otherwise the mechanics just don't work. It's not possible. The other reason is that it causes tension in the hand. If you hold the cue tight like that, you can see as I grip the cue, the muscles tense in your arm. Tenses up here, tenses into your shoulder. It doesn't give you a nice, smooth, relaxed stroke. So it needs to be relaxed so that the action is smooth and relaxed, not tensed. So we need to adjust this grip as we move through the shot, because we need to allow the cue to pivot in this hand. So the way I like to do that is I hold it sort of in this fleshy part of your hand here between your thumb and your finger, just very lightly in there, and then the other fingers are just loosely touching the cue, and I try to use this third finger, the ring finger, sort of as the main guide for those. So there's this sort of connection between there and there. Now, when you're down on the shot there, it's very loose in this hand. I'm not gripping it. You can see there's no tension in the knuckles there. As I pull the cue back, I'm just unfurling those fingers. Still got hold of the cue very lightly, sort of resting almost on this finger here and between those, sort of combination of those. And then as you push the cue forward, you just curl those other fingers around the cue. So you go back, curl them in as you come forward. Release and forward. Now you notice what I'm not doing here is I'm not gripping it at that forward position. I'm going back, curling them round, but I'm not squeezing at that point. Now that's important. If you look as I do that, if I squeeze, see you just get a little flick in the cue, a little bit of a twist, a little bit of movement at the end, and that little bit of tension as well makes you jab at it at the end of the stroke. So it's important, even when you're curling them in, for it to still be loose. I'm still holding that quite loosely there. I'm not really holding onto it tightly. So you pull back, forward. My hand's coming right through, just touching the chest there at the end. But all the way through, very loose. Natural swing of the cue. If you want to see more practice routines and pool tutorials, then please remember to subscribe. And if you're interested in any of the equipment I use in this video, then there are links in the description below.